Become a massage therapist and change your life. Right after my first marriage fell apart, I decided to get the hell out of Dodge, so to speak. I grew up on a farm, got married too young, was in the war and managed to get a corker. My sexy wife, as it turned out, liked sex too much and I found out she was spreading it around while I was gone. Stuff happens. Oh well. But it was too much for me. Divorce. So I decided to go to college. College takes money unless you get in like I did. The military helped, of course, not as much as they do today, but quite a bit. I moved to Vallejo, California, to my grandmother's house. They had a junior college there, a community college, and the price was, well, free. Now I could afford it, and the GI Bill could be saved for later, for some good school. But I also needed a job, and they seemed to be in short supply. I got to school early. There was something about the residency requirement, so I ended up at my grandmother's very early. No money, no job, what to do? I had an uncle, he worked in Reno, and they had a spare bedroom. He was a bell captain at a major hotel, and it may come as a surprise to some that the money was great. But living in Reno doesn't exactly fulfill the residency requirements for free college in California. Easy answer, just don't tell them. I lived with my grandmother and only visited Uncle Mel if anyone asked. And no one did ask. The hotel even provided uniforms. Their pay wasn't very high, but carrying a guest's bag to the room was almost always worth a bill or two, at least from regular people. Once a famous actor gave me a quarter, he had 7 bags. "Thank you, sir. I'll add that to my college fund," I told him, conceding with a trace of sarcasm. He didn't even change his facial expression. Besides, there was no special training needed, let's face it. Stick the card in the elevator, go up, bring it into the room and unload it, smile sweetly, get a tip. Nothing complicated, except I'm not used to interacting with people much. Even in the military, it took me a long time to adjust. But I figured I could handle it. Besides, I was young, good-looking, well-built from years of working on a big ranch, and the Army toughened me up even more. Places like the hotels in Reno sometimes remind me of Vegas, which has a reputation for being a sin city. Not as crazy, of course, but stuff happens. For a small percentage of guests, a young and cute bellboy can be a target. My Uncle Mel even took me aside and warned me of what could happen. He was grinning a lot when he did it. The first week I expected to see some of the things he talked about, like a lady opening the door in a robe, or just a towel, or very rarely naked. Nothing like that happened. Nothing at all. So I more or less forgot about that part and did my best to please people, to get those tips. It wasn't bad either. I was averaging about $30 to $50 a day. Not bad, considering I was working the midnight to 8 a.m. shift. There was less check-in and more carrying booze or food to the rooms. One woman asked for a sewing kit, and I almost fell over when I was handed one to take to her. I found a very pretty young woman in a robe. The dress was on the table, the zipper was unzipped. Then she asked me if I knew how to sew it up, and I did it for her. Farmer, don't ask. Yes, I do know how. I had to know how to mend clothes. We couldn't afford new ones. She handed me a $10 bill, my biggest tip at the time. I told the guys at the station about it, but no one believed me. They accused me of hooking up since I was gone so long. My shift supervisor was a woman. Her name was Clara. She was about 40 years old and about 200 pounds. She always had a big smile on her face and was easy to work with. Running into a room was announced on the order forms. There were no cell phones or anything like that back then. So I was always trying to hurry up, get ahead of the other ringers to get into her zone, and she would grin and hand me good orders. I think she liked me, to be honest. She called me sweetheart. Got a bottle of Jack and a Coke? Room 4112. Clara smirked as I trotted back after delivering the food to the penthouse suite. Everyone there is a tall guest, and usually the tip is no more than $1. Why rich people are so cheap, I don't know. Maybe that's why they're rich. But at least there was a service charge for ordering food, and it was split between all of us in the kitchen. 10% of a $20 order divided by 5 people. Hey, that counts. Room 4112 was one of the larger rooms at the end. It had double doors, and they were huge. Usually rich people lived in them since they cost $300 a night. But rich people mostly gambled, so they got the rooms for free, so-called comped. I never understood that part. So they give rich people free stuff and make regular people pay? Oh, well, I went to the bar, took my order, and went up. A bald guy in his 50s opened the door and grinned widely. He was wearing boxers and a sleeveless t-shirt that did nothing to hide his slightly bloated belly. "Yeah, come on in. Put your stuff on the counter. I'll get you some money." I walked in. There was a woman lying on the bed, the covers pulled up to her waist, and her breasts were visible. I know I was blushing. I managed to make my way across the room, set down a bottle and some refreshments. The guy rummaged through his suitcase, found his wallet, and pulled out a bill. I tried not to look at the woman who was just lying there, making no move to cover herself. Don't mind the wife, she's not shy. The guy laughed like it was a joke or something. He then held out a bill to me. I looked down. It was a $5 bill, a regular one, $1. At that moment, the woman slid off the bed and stood up. She stretched, smiled at me, then walked across the room and poured herself a drink. She was completely naked, and it was evident in her body. I think I stood like that, frozen in place. She turned to me, leaned her back against the bar, and took a sip of her drink, still smiling. I looked over, of course I did. She was in her late 40s or so, quite pretty, clearly in good shape. The moment became awkward. I stared. The guy stood there looking at me. The woman stood there smiling at me, and I realized I was starting to have an attraction. I thanked them, after which I managed to escape. Back on the main floor, I checked on Clara. There was nowhere to run, so all I had to do was wait. "Hey, Danny, how did it go with the Johnsons?" asked Clara to me. A puzzled expression must have appeared on my face. 4112, she added. "Oh, man, the woman wasn't wearing any clothes and the guy acted like he didn't care," I told her. "Yeah, they come about once every 2 or 3 weeks, stay for a few days. They have a lot of money and he seems to like to flaunt it. I thought you might enjoy it." She laughed. It was almost a cackle. "Hey, Danny, do you know how to give a massage?" Clara asked me a few minutes later. "What? No, not really. I mean, just with, with girlfriends?" "Yeah." I blushed again. "Do you want one? Usually when the Johnsons are here, they need someone. There's no one on staff at the hotel, so I'm sending one of you." Clara was really grinning now. "I don't know, That's easy. Besides, he pays $50, and more if he likes you." $50? "Yeah." "Okay, I guess. I could do that, and I wouldn't mind getting another dose of pleasure either." I half expected the call to come that evening, but it didn't come. Nor did it come the next evening, so I forgot about it. Then, on one of my deliveries, I was on my way back downstairs when the elevator stopped on the 4th floor and the Johnsons walked in. "Hey, how's it going?" The guy held out his hand and I shook it. "Are you out all night tonight?" he asked. "Yeah, until 8 in the morning." "Great. I'll see you then." They headed toward the casino. I went back to work. "Danny!" Clara called me around 4 in the morning. I had just brought orange juice, a whole pitcher of it, to 3 young girls on the 21st floor who were shamelessly flirting with me. It was fun, and I liked the blonde, but there was nothing I could do about it. "I have a job for you, 4112. They want to do a massage for Mrs. Johnson, and they asked for a cute kid. That's you." Clara was definitely amused by the situation. "Hey, I don't know about that," I said. "Danny, the Johnsons are big fans. They spend a lot of money here. We need you to go in there and make them happy. Got it?" Clara suddenly stopped smiling. "Okay," said I. A few minutes later, I knocked on the door of room 4112. I had absolutely no idea what was in store for me. Moreover, I didn't even know what I was going to do. I thought I would just act at random, by ear. A fat guy opened the door. I swear he was wearing the exact same boxers and sleeveless t-shirt as the first time I saw him. "Hi, I'm Danny. The office said you asked for a massage for your wife?" I tried to look and sound professional. "Yes, that's great. Come on in. Her back hurts from sitting and playing the machines," he said. I expected the woman to be unclothed again, but she wasn't. She was sitting behind the bar sipping a drink, fully dressed in a blouse and pants. We looked at each other, and for a moment I thought I understood how Mouse might feel when Cat appeared around the corner. Where would you like to do it?" I asked. "Probably on the bed. Come on, stretch out, honey," said the guy. She stood up, drained her drink, then came over and stretched out on her back, fully clothed. "You can undress her. I'm enjoying this part," the guy said just when I thought it might be okay. I sighed and sat on the edge of the bed. She was wearing a blouse that buttoned in the front, which was rare in those days since most women's clothes buttoned in the back. I began to undo the buttons. By the third button, it was clear that there was nothing under the blouse. I glanced over at the guy. He was sitting in a chair watching. The woman had lifted herself up to help me pull the blouse off her shoulders, and now her breasts were exposed. For an older lady, she was very pretty. There were a few faint stretch marks, and I figured she must have children. "She has nice breasts, doesn't she?" I heard the man say as he leaned forward because my back was in his way. I realized he wanted to watch, and shifted to the side to give him a better view. "Yeah. Beautiful," I managed. I stroked her tummy, not knowing if I should go any further or not. "You can take her pants off, she's not shy," the man said. I reached down and hooked the latch and pulled the zipper down. Soft blue panties showed. I wasn't even expecting it. I pulled her pants off, but then hesitated. "This too?" I asked. She opened her eyes, smiled, and nodded. Then began the very first massage I'd ever given anyone, unless you count partial rub-downs and games with my girlfriends and my now ex-wife Sharon. I touched, teased, stroked her, did everything I could think of to make her feel good. All the while her husband was watching. I made her roll over so I could stroke her back, and by the time I got to her very beautiful body, I had lost all my shyness. At that moment, I realized that the man had stood up and was looking right over my shoulder. Confident that there were no limits now, I fondled her for a very long time, and I'm sure she experienced the pleasure. Now that was fun. It was 20 minutes to 7 when I got back to my station. I had spent over 2 hours playing with Mrs. Johnson's body while her husband watched. Clara looked up at me and grinned. "Did you make any money?" she asked. "Yes. He gave me $200. "Wow, are you kidding?" "No." I held out $200 bills. "Dude, you must be good. Hey, why don't you do this to me sometime?" Clara laughed. "Can I rest for the rest of my shift?" I asked. I was close to exhaustion. "Sure, no problem. Bill can handle it. The mornings are always low traffic." I left, drove home, and went straight to bed. I was already starting to think about a new possible career. I saw the Johnsons twice more during my time at the hotel, and then fall came, and I went back to my grandmother's house in college. Both times I spent about 2 hours trying to please her, with her husband watching intently. He never undressed or fondled himself. His wife never once tried to touch me, although I expected it. 2 or 3 times I was attempted on me by other guests, but I managed to escape. Watching the internet today, you would think that all sorts of things happen in hotels with delivery. And yes, some do happen. In my experience, it rarely happens. I've seen breasts a couple times. I've been invited to join in a couple times. I served drinks to 4 naked people in a hot tub once. And I served Mrs. Johnson. I even mentioned Mrs. Johnson to my Uncle Mel once. He just laughed and said he served her once and bragged that he was paid $100. I failed to mention that they paid me $200. "Great woman, isn't she?" he said. I didn't say anything, and I certainly wasn't going to say anything to my Aunt Dorothy. No, I didn't have sex with her. Maybe that's why they always asked me. I just don't know. Another memory that I have to say I'm not very proud of. It was my almost 3 months as a, call boy. But what I did do was move to Portland and enroll in massage therapy school. Maybe I'll write about it. We'll see. The end. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you.